I think it's flawed going based on the finals, whether who's the best player in the league. I mean, let's say
I'm just saying in that series.
Let's say Jayson Tatum wins the finals this year and he wins Finals MVP. Are we putting him in the top 5 in the league? See, I don't know if we can do that.
He gets locked in.
Okay, see, I guess
at least going into the next season, he gets locked in top 5.
Maybe. I don't know.
Over
guess,
who?
Yeah, exactly. We got to go through the list.
I mean, you have
Jokic,
Giannis.
Now it's a would you rather.
Giannis, Jokic, Luka.
You're a LeBron guy. LeBron?
You can right now.
Steph.
Steph is better.
You think if Tatum wins the
yeah.
championship, he'd be over Steph?
Like you could argue that Tatum is more important than Embiid.
You could argue that.
But Embiid's better, though.
What about KD?
I don't know.
KD, I think
KD, you could have that conversation for sure.
Yeah.
You swap KD and Tatum, Celtics are in the same position.
I mean, KD's not the defensive presence that Tatum is. But offensively, no doubt about it, he's more consistent. But this was the worst we've seen KD offensively, and that's because of the Boston Celtics.
You keep saying it. That's wrong, though.
In the playoffs. Can you just understand that that's what I'm talking about? Because that's the truth. This was the worst we've seen him in the playoffs.
But this is not the worst we've seen KD in his career, though.
When are you going to say? What year are you going to say? 2016?
I mean, KD this year was an MVP candidate before getting hurt.
Okay, yes, and then he came back. They finished as the 7th seed.
So you think
he has horrible performances for KD standards.
So swap KD and Tatum. The Celtics are not in the finals?
They probably still make the finals.
Oh, that's what I said. They're in the same position with KD.
I don't know. His offense was not up to par.
Because they were helping off everybody.
For sure, but KD has shown that it doesn't matter in every other circumstance, more likely.
When?
I mean, Kevin Durant against the Cavaliers, against Houston,
against the Cavaliers in the finals where nobody could help because they had Steph and Clay.
So Houston, the Clippers series where the Clippers gave them a good fight too. I'm just naming every series that I could think off the top of my head where KD played.
You're comparing different circumstances though, because Kevin Durant with the Warriors, you had Steph, you had Clay, you had to worry about.
Okay, fine. 2012 NBA Finals where KD averaged 30.
Yeah. Different game back then, though.
We can't overlook Jayson Tatum hasn't been the pinnacle of consistency offensively either in this playoffs.
But he's showed up when he's needed to.
True, but he's had his 10 points,
his 12
points, his bad shooting. So, I mean, back to your argument of would KD still take the Celtics to the finals? He doesn't need to score 30 every night to take them to the finals. That's the point.
So we've been on this one for a while, so I'll just leave with this. Game 1, right? He doesn't have the great scoring performance. However, he still can facilitate as good as anyone on the court. His defense was extremely impactful.
KD's a better playmaker than Tatum.
That's true.
That's an argument.
Last year, did we not see in the Bucks series, KD had a 40-point triple-double? Almost 50-point triple-double?
Aren't you the guy that tells me NBA's year to year?
No, I don't. NBA's year to year? Or did I say NFL's year to year?
No, you tell me NBA is year to year.
I say NFL's year to year.
No, because you said that Trey's better than Steph because NBA's year to year.
No, Trey had a better regular season than Steph. There's no debate about that.
You said to me that Trey was the best point guard in the league because off this season,
off the regular season, he was better than Steph.
So, which is what I'm saying. You're the guy that tells me NBA's year to year, which is what I'm saying. We had finally have seen a series where KD was not himself.
Hold on. But there's a difference with that because yes, if I did say that NBA's year to year, I am not using 4 games and discrediting everything KD did in 56.
Absolutely not.
KD had the Nets. KD had the Nets as the first seed. He was at the top 3 in MVP voting. There's an argument that if he doesn't get hurt, he is the MVP right now.
I don't disagree overly.
And you have to look at the series that happened versus Boston. Like, you had Bruce Brown out there on the court. You had Andre Drummond out there on the court. You can help off these guys. KD was not able to drive to the basket. When he played with Golden State, he was able to do that. Last year, the Bucks, they just put PJ Tucker on KD and they let him ISO, and that's why he was able to go off for those performances. They didn't trap KD like Boston did, or at least help off these guys like Boston did in the first round. And that's basically where I'm coming from, is that KD with Boston would not have those type of defensive schemes used against him.
And I'll say this, and this is absolutely it on what I'm going to say. Last year, where we had the juggernaut Nets go against a beat-up Celtics team, at the minimum, the Celtics took 1. Why? Because Tatum had an all-world performance. Kevin Durant is supposed to be one of the greatest scorers, if not the greatest scorer of all time. You're telling me he can't get you one? You can't get me one?
Well, it was a bad series for them.
I don't disagree, but my point being is Tatum, with a significantly worse team than this season, obviously, was still able to get one against one of the best teams that we've seen put together.
Well, yeah, he got one, but that's also ignoring that Kyrie was worse than KD in game 2, game 3, and game 4 this year.
Again,
Kyrie did
Tatum
not
was
show up for
doing
any
it
game.
by himself that one night. You got to get me one.
No, I know,
You're Kevin
I'm saying,
Durant.
okay, but
get me one.
I know what you're saying.
That's it.
I know what you're saying. You're just asking KD to get you one game.
That's it.
But that being said, that still doesn't. This original thing started because I said you swap KD and Tatum. They are in the same position, and you're giving me pushback on that.
I don't know.
When KD's a better player than Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, originally it started with who's better, KD or Jayson Tatum, and KD's better than Jayson.
KD's a better scorer than him. He's a better playmaker than him. And
That's
you like
close.
to act as if Jayson Tatum is this
Defensive
leaps
player
and
of the
bounds,
year, yeah.
He's not defensive player of the year, but
above
he's
defensively than
he is
KD.
great defensively.
KD and him are neck and neck defensively.
They're on the
disagree.
same tier defensively.
They are on the same tier.
I disagree.
KD is not some average defender.
I disagree.
Did you watch Golden State where he was
when he was
small
able
ball
to,
5 and
when he was able to,
he's still able to.
That's not true because he has to do more offensively.
More offensively than Kevin Durant?
No, I'm saying Kevin Durant. This is who he's talking about. Kevin Durant has to do more now that he's on the Nets offensively, and he can't commit himself to defense.
KD was awesome this year defensively.
Was he awesome defensively against the Nets?
I understand that maybe
against the Celtics?
I think he was good defensively. I think that
against that Cavaliers game, game was he great defensively?
I think that one play where he is caught looking at Jayson Tatum going to the basket in game 1 has skewed everybody's thought process on how good of a defender he is, but he's still he's a great defender, and he's on the same tier as Tatum as a defender. In fact,
he's not.
If Tatum I think is a better on-ball defender.
For sure.
He's not the help defender Kevin Durant is. Kevin Durant's a better help defender. He has a better rim protecting presence than Tatum.
He has a little bit more size to him.
Yeah, because he's 7 foot, and in Golden State, he played a small ball 5. He was able to be that rim protector for them in those years.
Because he was on the greatest team ever organized.
I know you're using all these little subtle things to discredit Kevin Durant.
It's just
but I'm just saying he's an elite
on a
defender.
team finally again where he needs to be the best player and he hasn't accomplished anything. It's just the truth.
I mean, it's easy to say that when last year Kyrie gets hurt, James Harden gets hurt, and he has to now
last year
backpack.
he was great for sure,
and he has to now backpack. So let's just, I mean, you're talking about KD not getting you one game against Boston.
Get me one. I'm not asking for a series win. Get me one game.
I hold the Milwaukee series into higher regard because he was able to take that to 7. And that series should have never went 7 with the amount of injuries the Nets have.
I mean,
Nets
they went up 2-0.
Like the Celtics.
So they should have lost in 6.
The Celtics almost lost to the Bucks without Middleton.
Because Giannis is the best player in the world.
He was the best player in the world last year, too. You think so?
Yeah.
So Kevin Durant took that team to 7.
Good for him. He was great.
So I'm saying the same thing that Tatum did with
Have
this
I said
team.
once that KD wasn't great last
The
year?
same thing. Tatum took that same team to 7 this playoffs with an injured Middleton. KD took them to 7 while Middleton being there.
And Tatum in Game 6
and playing
had a legacy
and
performance.
averaging like 24, 26 a game.
Tatum Game 6 had a legacy performance on the road, took it to Game 7, and closed it out in TD.
Every game last year in the playoffs versus the Bucks, KD had a legacy performance.
He was amazing.
It seems like
he was
pretty
amazing,
much.
no doubt.
Every game he had legacy performance.
They went up 2-0 when Kyrie Irving was healthy.
Yeah. You want to know, KD was so great last year that it's actually a debate that he was just as good as Giannis. I think he was even better than Giannis last year. Nobody's debating Tatum was better than Giannis in this series. Nobody. Giannis was by far the better player in the series. And the same thing.
By far?
Yes, by far. Giannis was by far the best player in the Celtics series this year, and Jimmy Butler was by far the best player in the Celtics series in the Eastern Conference
Game
Finals.
7, Giannis laid an egg, and Tatum was
Have
great.
you noticed that? That's actually crazy.
What?
So Tatum, the past 2 rounds in the second round and the Eastern Conference Finals, he hasn't been the best player. It's been Giannis and Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's outperformed Tatum in the Eastern Conference Finals too.
Listen, down the stretch of that game,
and now in the finals,
7,
Steph is better. It's 3 straight series. Tatum's not the best.
Listen, stop him. Beat him.
They are. The Warriors going to win.
Listen, you got to hope so at this point.
The Warriors
because then
win.
you're just going to hear me chirp.
You have high hopes for the Celtics.
I do.
You've made this there's this character arc going with you right now, right?
People don't love it. They don't love it.
You're a lifelong Lakers fan.
Hey, always read the bio.
You're a
At
Jaylen
Andrew,
Brown
5 A's.
fan.
Listen, Jaylen Brown.
And you're rooting for the Celtics.
I've been a fan of Jaylen Brown since before Jaylen Brown let the world know that he is him. And I'm not rooting for the Celtics. I picked the Celtics. There's a difference. As an analyst, you have to make a decision. It's simple. I believe the Celtics are the best team in the NBA. That's it.
You're riding with your pick. That's fair.
That right? I'm not saying, let's go Celtics. I'm throwing on a hat. No, I believe that they're going to win.
You do that anyway.
If that's how it's perceived.
So you're not rooting for the Celtics?
There's no reason to root for anyone. I have no ins
in
this at all.
Of course you're rooting for the Celtics. You want them to win, so your take is right.
I mean, if that's how you want to see it,
that's
sure.
rooting. That's exactly what it is.
I guess, but I'm not like fanboying over it. If they lose, I'm going to wait.
You said you were making a Jaylen Brown fan account.
Listen, Jaylen Brown's a different story.